Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And as always, I am joined by FingerLakes1.com producer Paul Russo. Paul, how are you doing today?
Good, John. How are you?
I'm good. It's our last show of the year. So we're going to do a little Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future, and talk about some of the things we've been through this year with the show. Talk about last week's games and then some upcoming games. This week in NFL is, from a betting perspective, is very sketchy.
I think that's probably putting it a bit kindly.
Yeah.
But
So I talk on the program about uncertainty sometimes being a good opportunity for sports betting.
Yeah.
But for just a one-game situation, it might not be. There's a lot of COVID issues around sports, and excuse me, there's a lot of games to get a grasp on. But we are going to talk about the college playoffs. So I would think that hopefully within the next 2 weeks they would be able to get a grasp on that.
Right.
So let's do what we always do and start by updating the bankroll. I mean, last week we had a starting bankroll of $243. We had the Washington football team at plus 4.5, and that was a loser. It closed at, I think, 6.5.
It did.
And minus $8 to the bankroll. So I did not beat the closing line. And, excuse me, that was... was that due to injury, or why do you think that line moved so much?
Yeah, I think, especially last Friday was kind of when the first COVID issues started popping up for the football team, Thursday and Friday of last week. I think really at the time last Friday there was only, a handful of guys, and they were more or less the depth guys at that point. But then by the time Sunday rolled around, pretty much I'm a fan of the football team. I didn't mean to say the our portion there, but by the time kickoff and warm up kind of got around to the point on Sunday, depth wise, the football team was down to I think pretty much the third string defensive ends, and just ended up being a little bit chaotic on the offensive line too as well. And I think I went to bed on Saturday. The line was kind of somewhere in the 5-ish range, and woke up and it was at that 6.5. And I thought it was a great sending gift for me on my way out to the casino, but alas, just not quite enough.
I will say that Dallas did get Randy Gregory back.
Yep.
So the stars had kind of aligned for them, and the game did turn out to be a one-score game at the end. But
yeah.
So minus 8 to the bankroll, minus 1 to the count. And then I had the Rams and the Cardinals on Monday night, under 51. It closed at 51. It was a loss. That last touchdown was kind of a meaningless touchdown. The Rams were well in control of the game.
Yep.
But that put it over 51. I think they scored 53 total. So minus $8 to the bankroll. And then in the Grey Cup on Sunday night, Winnipeg minus 3. They won by 8 in overtime. This is one of those bets. When people always say you remember the bets that you lost and you don't remember the bets that you won that you should have lost. This is definitely one that I should have lost. First of all, the line moved from Winnipeg minus 3 to Winnipeg minus 1. And I had minus 3, 105, and I thought I got the best of this number. And it went to minus 1, and it was weather related. It wasn't really personnel related.
Yeah.
And on paper, Winnipeg is the better team here. Hamilton's at home, but and then it ended up closing Winnipeg minus 2.5, minus 110. So I kind of I got minus 3, minus 105. So it was pretty similar to the closing line, but I'm giving myself a minus 1 there. And Winnipeg did end up backdooring the cover in overtime, and it was a very exciting game. And I'm so glad CFL made it back from the verge of extinction, and hopefully they'll have a full 18-game regular season next year, and that'll give us some football to bet on next June.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, if you do the math, minus $8 to the bankroll, new bankroll $235, dividing by 30, as we always do, makes our bet size $8 going forward this week. And our new count, it says $14, but it should be plus 14. For those of you that don't watch the show regularly, if we beat the closing line, we give ourselves a plus 1. If we tie, we get a 0, and if we do not beat the closing line, we get a minus 1. And we are plus 14 on the season, even though we're down from 16. That positive number indicates that we are beating the closing line more often than not, which means we're finding value in our wagers. So, moving on from the bankroll update, let's just talk a little bit about the year in review. And I'm going to start off by saying 2021 gave me a hard lesson in not hedging my NFL futures. And I had the Packers at 35-1 last year and the Bills at 28-1 last year. And I had them both in the conference finals, and I just decided to let it ride and said, one of them will get there. And I think both tickets were somewhere between, they were both over $2,500 payoffs. So I could have easily hedged at least one of them, and I didn't. And that actually last week's lesson on hedging college football futures is a direct result of that experience. So, yeah, that was the first hard lesson I learned this year. And then we have the slow return of sports from COVID affected content on the podcast. And I know, Paul, you weren't here for most of that, but I did book reviews, I did movie reviews, I did podcast and TV show reviews that related to sports betting. There's been, just an explosion of, we'll talk about that in a second, but explosion of sports betting content. But there's still a lot of week-to-week game stuff that I want to talk about.
Right.
We definitely are going to try to have more guests this year. Now it's just become so much more acceptable to have a Zoom guest or a Skype or whatever you want to call it, WebEx guest on a program now, that people are just easy to do it and ready and tech savvy enough to make it happen. So hopefully we can get some of that going. Last year of exclusive brick and mortar wagering in New York State, we should have mobile betting here by the Super Bowl. I don't know how good it's going to be. I know we're going to have at least six mobile options, maybe more for lucky. I do know that in states like Colorado, they have over 20 options.
Yeah, I feel bad because I remember seeing something oddly enough yesterday about a book coming to New York specifically for the mobile, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the book.
There's in the sports betting community online and social media, there are definitely some books that are liked more than others. Yeah. I'm not going to name names because none of us pay us to name names.
It's true.
But there are certain ones that I wish would come to New York that are not on the docket. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. So let's see what else we got here. We had an explosion of sports betting content. We've had podcasts, TikToks. We have so many sports betting analysts that I use air quotes. Analysts. Can I get their analysts?
Yeah, you're there.
That are on social media now that are that give. I actually I watch a lot of my news on YouTube and the algorithm. Sometimes I'm watching a show and I'm doing stuff online and I just let it play the next video automatically, and some of the sports betting content comes up, and I can understand why people watch it.
Yep.
First of all, I can understand why it's there because a lot of it is sponsored by the sports books.
Yeah.
We are not sponsored by a sports book. A sports book is not interested in us educating their consumer base.
Right.
They want them to be as uneducated as possible. So that unfortunately is not going to work for us. But there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, like even just using something like Spotify.
Yep.
And just type in sports betting and see what podcasts come up. There's some really good
Yeah.
stuff. And I went through that earlier in the year.
I was about to say, it's what we talked about really a few weeks ago, specific content too, just bringing that back up again for a quick second. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and then, of course, the last thing that I want to mention as far as the year in review is the continuous learning curve of sports betting always exists. And I think this is probably the most important episode of this podcast that I've done. We're about halfway through to completing 4 years here. And the episode I did on the continuous learning curve of sports betting, I think is the most important learning episode that I've done. And it talks about how no betting edge is ever going to last. It's always... you're always improving your model. You're always adjusting your model. You're always learning new ways to handicap. It never ends. It's like the learning process never ends. So, if 5 years ago I could beat the CFL for 60%, I can't beat the CFL for 60% anymore. This year was crazy. But it's the same. So what things we talked about this year on the podcast, and you were here for some of them.
Yeah.
I talked about hedging futures, of course, expected goal differential, and also three-way markets. We talked about adjusted net rating in basketball. We talked about PDO, win shares and point shares, and other things that I've mentioned throughout the year. And there's always new tools to put in your handicapping bag. So I feel like that was, the useful stuff that will be replayable on YouTube when our show, all our shows end up on YouTube. So
Right.
I'm very excited that we were able to contribute some of those new things and hopefully incorporate them going forward.
Right. I mean, it's a continuous process, even, obviously yourself, myself included, right? I mean, just thinking about something, specifically to me, like the PDO, for instance, just not having really a clue up until a couple weeks ago when we discussed it, at least for me personally, something simple like that could make such a big difference when you think about it.
Yeah, it's just a tool.
Yep.
It's not going to be the be-all, end-all, but if you need to quickly handicap something, all you need is a calculator, and everybody that has a phone has a calculator.
Yep.
So hopefully that will come in handy for somebody. And hopefully we'll find new tools to add to that bag. All right, so let's actually move on to something that I wanted to talk about today, and that's the college football playoff. As this is going to be our last show for the year, this will be the last program before we have the semifinals of the college football playoff. Of course, in the Cotton Bowl, we have Cincinnati and Alabama. Alabama minus 13.5. 58 is the total. In the Orange Bowl, we have Georgia versus Michigan. Michigan getting 8.5, and 45 is the total there. And I've also listed the current futures odds. Alabama at plus 120, Georgia at plus 140, Michigan a plus 700, and Cincinnati 16 to 1. What are your immediate thoughts when you see those lines?
So, line-wise, to me anyway, I would, personally speaking, I would jump on Michigan as soon as possible. I think the key part here, let me backtrack for a quick second, admittedly. The key part, obviously, with the playoff games specifically, you can sit and wait on these lines to move a little bit one way or another, depending upon what you hope for and how you're feeling. Obviously, going forward, we talked about, you mentioned how COVID kind of shifted things and made things whether it was challenging or opened up new ideas for the podcast specifically. And, we're looking at throughout sports right now a bit of a COVID, outbreak of sorts in certain programs and teams. But that being said, that is the luxury with these playoff games. You can sit and wait, to get something that you prefer to come up. That being said, looking in specifically, I guess, starting with the Georgia-Michigan game, I really do like Michigan getting now north of a touchdown, depending upon where I think before coming in here, I looked on the DraftKings book out at Del Lago, and they had it at 8, and I love it, whether it's 8 or 8.5, whatever. I even love it if it were to come back down to 7. We've talked a little bit about before how Georgia can struggle a little bit to push the ball downfield when they got to, just because of the way that offense is set up. That is going to be a defensive game. I mean, these are two teams that have really good defenses. It goes without saying with them. And, I really would like that line for Cincinnati to get bumped up a couple more, maybe, whether it's a flat 14 or 14.5. Not a big fan of it hanging out at 13.5 at the moment still, but I think that's definitely one of the lines where you can get away with. You have to sit a couple of days or a week or so still at this point and kind of see where it lands, really. I think that's a smart play at that point, would be sitting and waiting on that line. If you like Cincinnati, if you like Alabama, I would get on this one probably sooner than later in that regard, especially if it does end up jumping up to, say, a 14 or 14.5.
Well, it's interesting. I noticed a few things. I'm going to put these lines back up again so people can see them. But first of all, Michigan, I think, opened at minus 9.5 or plus 9.5. So it's already down to 8.5, right. And it's going in that direction. And I think it's going to close around a touchdown. So if you do like Michigan and you want to take the point spread, now's the time to do it. One thing that's very interesting to me, there are two things, actually. One is the money lines for this game, these games. And Michigan is plus 250 on the money line, and that seems like way too high.
Right.
And I like that a lot. And here's another interesting thing is the look-ahead lines for the championship matchups. So DraftKings has Georgia as 2-point favorites against Alabama. They have Alabama plus 2.
That's interesting.
They have Michigan plus 6 against Alabama, and Michigan minus 7 against Cincy, and Georgia minus 14.5 against Cincy. But the Cincinnati money line against Alabama, I've seen it higher. I've seen it as high as about 440, but DraftKings is only paying out, I think, plus 380 on Cincinnati money line, and that seems low.
Yeah,
I mean, like if a team is minus 14 points, to a powerhouse college team, they're usually getting plus 500, plus 600, plus 700. And
to me, the more interesting part on that is if you were to look at the future line, really on that, where they are at the 1600 mark. Because in your mind, you're just registering it as, well, they're only 2 wins away from that being completed. But I'm with you on that. That 380 does just seem low. It's very, very low when you look, like you said, you look at the line, everything considered. That's interesting.
So you can only buy up to 6 points.
Yeah.
I noticed, I was like, I'm wondering if you could buy Cincinnati plus 21, because I feel like that would be a really safe bet. And you cannot. So the Sportsbook is low-key respecting Cincinnati as an opponent. And I actually think the under is the play there, under 58, because Alabama has played some low-scoring games. They had a very low-scoring game against LSU. I mean, they had that crazy game against Texas A&M where nobody played defense. But
they struggled in that Auburn game, obviously.
Game with the overtime was 24-22. Yep. So I like the under there, and I like the Michigan on the money line. And we've talked about the futures. I'm locked in on that, so there's nothing I can do at this point.
I do like that Michigan future money line right now. I think that's a pretty good play, possibly. I mean, personally speaking, I'm high on them to beat Georgia anyway.
Yeah. So if you
kind of riding that momentum,
saying like taking the 7-1 and then hedging in the final.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I like the 250 straight up to win the semifinal.
Yeah.
It is it's the Orange Bowl. It's a southern destination, but Michigan travels well.
Yeah.
I mean, they show up for the Rose Bowl. They're going to show up for the Orange Bowl.
I mean, at the end of the day, and not to make this portion of it too much of a all-out, analysis of one team and another, but at the end of the day, Georgia's still playing a backup quarterback. They're kind of riding that train, and I respect that. I mean, you gotta go with whatever's hot at that point. I forget who said it, but in this point resonates with me is if push comes to shove, like Kirby Smart's got to play JT Daniels, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, you can't ride the Stetson Bennett train too long, but now I'm just going down a completely different path and get off of it. But I mean, there's a lot of interesting factors, like you said. I mean, Michigan, they're one of the teams one of the classic teams that travels well. Like you said, I mean, it's
a huge momentum.
Yeah.
Game. It's a momentum game because even though it's a 3 to 4 week layoff, I mean Georgia just got punched in the mouth.
Right. Yeah.
And at the same time, Michigan finished punching 2 teams in the mouth.
This is the highest they've been riding in 15
in the Harbaugh era for sure.
For sure, but probably 15 or so years really. Yeah. Like just an incredible run for them.
Yeah. So it's a power football team. They do have receiver skill that they can use, but if they have any success with their power game, I mean, I think they have a shot to win that game outright. All right. So that's going to do the college football. Let's look at the NFL lines. I'm going to start. We got 15 games to look at.
Yeah. No bye weeks anymore.
No more bye weeks. I did not put my model numbers up this week because they are basically pointless this week. Every team has some COVID issues. We'll try to figure out where the value is. And there's one game that I see tremendous value. And if you see anything you want to talk about, please jump in. So we have the Raiders at the Browns, plus 3.5, 38.5. And we have unlikely we have Baker Mayfield. So,
yeah, I don't even know who the backup. It's Nick Mullins is the backup for.
He's number 3.
Yeah, and
Case Keenum is number 2. Right?
Yeah, Case Keenum is on the list as far as I know. So I think it's Nick Mullins going at this point.
So yeah, this is a game that I have no idea what the weather's going to be like. I don't really have any feel for it.
Yeah, I don't either. I think, and this is obviously revisionist history. If Case Keenum was playing, I'd feel a lot more comfortable going, say, Browns or one side or the other. That being said, I'm with you. Just the uncertainty surrounding the team in this situation and everything like that. I can't make heads or tails.
It's basically a playoff play-in game.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, the Raiders are really done if they lose this game, and the Browns are a really, really difficult spot. So it's interesting. The games mean something right now. Patriots at Colts. This one really has me a little confused. Colts are 2.5-point favorites. I'm not as upset about that. I think the Colts are a good team. And they present a really good challenge to the Patriots. Oh, well, it's not. The Colts are minus 140. The Patriots are plus 120. So
okay.
I would rather take the 2.5 than the plus 120.
Yeah.
But I was like, geez, if you could get the Patriots at plus 140, I'd be like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
But these teams, I think, are relatively healthy.
Yeah. This is a. I like the Colts outright in this game. If I think I don't know if the line's going to really move all too much at this point with this game, barring something happening on the injury report or COVID list report. I think the Patriots may be a really decent play with the points, at least to me. The Colts secondary, I know I mentioned it Tuesday on Fresh Takes. The Colts defense, for as good as it is, the secondary has been pretty pedestrian in the passing game. I think they're somewhere in like the 14th or 15th range or something like that.
I'm also of the opinion that you would putting as much pressure on Mac Jones to beat you with the passing game.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just when I say put pressure on him, I don't mean rushing the passer. I mean forcing him to make decisions on the field. That is something that obviously, they could have brought Joe Pisarcik back against the Bills and had him hand off 43 times.
Yeah.
So, that I think that obviously the Patriots are playing phenomenal ball right now, but I feel like they have a ceiling as far as a championship goes.
Yeah, definitely.
A good defense I think is really going to give Mac Jones problems.
Yeah.
And not to take anything away from him, he's probably the rookie of the year. All right, let's see what the next one on the list is. Cowboys at Giants, plus 11-44. This is another one of those games where they're saying that Daniel Jones has a bad spine now. And, maybe he's going to get some kind of Eichel type surgery or something. I don't know. His season could be over. The only thing I can say is, can Mike Glennon cover 11?
Right.
The Giants their defense looked so bad last week against the Chargers.
There's a lot of interesting things going on behind the scenes at the Giants all of a sudden going on there.
Yeah, it's there's just not I don't have a lot of faith in them to cover.
No.
I think if it got to 14, I would really think about it. But the Cowboys can basically, I don't know if they clinch if they win this, but it seems like they would.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I didn't this week. I did not look at what the clinching scenarios. But I think the way the NFC East is kind of structured right now, even if it's not one of those true winning in type situations, I think it'd be one of those things next week where it's you tie or win or something like that.
So then we have the Texans at the Jaguars, minus 3.5, 39.5. Urban Meyer has been kicked to the curb, and I think the team is very happy about that.
Yeah.
Plus, they get the Davis Mills experience.
Yeah, it's an interesting. This game is definitely another game where don't know if I personally I'm not going to touch it, but it's one of those. I think if you could probably find some, I don't know if you could find any like in-game prop bets to do or something like that. But this is going to be quite the experience. Honestly, this is probably, if you're a Jaguars fan, this is probably the type of game that you really want after the first game where you finally got rid of Urban Meyer, in all honesty.
Yeah, well, I found it funny that they interviewed the interim coach and they said, you're going to have more you could have more first-year wins than Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
So, all right, next one on the list, Titans at Steelers. This is actually a pick'em game right now. The last time I checked, 43 is the total. I have no idea what the COVID situation is with these teams.
I don't think either have any major issues going on, to my knowledge, anyway. I think a lot of it has to do maybe with the fact. I think people might be a little bit running scared, seeing what now weeks later on what the Titans aren't without Derrick Henry, to a degree. That being said, I find it interesting that it is a pick'em game at this point.
I feel like the Steelers showed a little moxie coming back, down 29-0. To make it a game.
Yeah.
And they're always tough at home, even when they're not a great team. And this year's team, it is the AFC North is failing upwards. That's the whole division in a nutshell.
Pretty much.
Everybody's still in the playoff picture, and it's I don't know. I feel like the Titans. I think that A.J. Brown is questionable for this game.
Julio is back.
Yeah, but if A.J. Brown is back, I feel like the Titans are the play there.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. All right, Cardinals at Lions, 12.5, 47.5. I feel like the over is the play here.
Yeah, I was about to say this game, to me, over all day.
That's obviously weather's not going to be
Yeah.
an issue. There probably will be some turnovers.
Yep.
Sometimes there's good turnover variance, and sometimes there's bad turnover variance. So hopefully they will not occur in the red zone for the offense. But I know that Jared Goff has a penchant for throwing picks in the end zone. So, that's all I got for this game. I can't really.
Yeah,
I mean, like the Cardinals could. I would not be surprised if the Cardinals lost this game.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's going to be like a 35-31 game.
Yeah, I know. Myself and Nick on Tuesday night discussed this game a little bit to the point where, again, this is a situation where I love the Cardinals outright, but the 12.5 is an interesting play on the spread portion of things. But yeah, other than that, I'm with you. I think obviously we know the Cardinals can score. The Lions, despite their problems every now and then when Jared Goff gets within the 20, they do get points on the board. Whether it's 6 or 14, but
right.
I'm with you. Overall day on this game is, I think, the play on it.
So let's continue to throw some darts here. And Panthers at the Bills. Bills minus 11, 44.5. It does look like Josh Allen will be available. Yep. I actually am in the camp of rest him as much as possible. Let Mitch Trubisky take over for a week. I actually think that the Panthers plus 11 is the play here because we talked about before how Cam can run the ball, but he can't throw anymore.
Yep.
And the Bills can't stop the run. And they have CMC and Cam Newton running the ball. And I feel like this game is going to be a close game. I don't know if it's going to go over or under, but I feel like it's going to be less than a 10-point game.
Yeah, I think if this game was kind of sitting like a full 2 points on spread wise, if it was at like 9, I would definitely be a little bit probably more tepid on taking, the Panthers here. But that being said, you bring up a really good point. We've seen that the past couple weeks, the Bills have done really well defending wise in the passing game. It's the running game where it becomes the biggest question mark. And that is where they are having their COVID issues on actually both sides of the ball, line-wise, really.
And I do want to mention a different team, obviously, but Cam played the Bills last year in Buffalo with the Patriots, and it was a 28-24 game. So,
and I think I'm not too sure if they're going to do it too much this week. I know Matt Rule has not ruled out kind of running like a platoon system at quarterback, but that being said, it's not like PJ Walker's slow. He's a quick-footed quarterback, and he can take off if need be as well. So definitely, I'm with you though. The Panthers plus 11. Actually, I do like the over a little bit in this game, strictly for the fact that I think if especially if it's close in the first half, whether it's like a 10-10 or 14-14 type of game, I really see the Bills coming out in the second half, kind of guns blazing it almost.
I think if they find an exploit in the passing game, where I think they'll run up the score.
Yeah.
But I think if the Panthers come in with a plan to attack with the ground, and kind of slow the game down and make it a lower possession game, I think the cover is very doable there. All right. Jets at Dolphins. The Dolphins have somehow put themselves back in the playoff hunt. 9.5-point favorites at home. 41 is the total. This is a division game. I feel like this game is going to be close. The Jets are having a very Jets season, but Miami really hasn't blown too many people out. They've had a fair amount of close games, and they've been able to survive and advance, as they say. I feel like if this gets over 10, you hold your nose and take the Jets. But again, it doesn't excite me enough to want to put any money on it.
Yeah, overall, I'm not a big fan of this game betting wise. I'm a big fan of it from the pure football anarchy side of things because on one side, like you said, 'tis the season. This is about the most Jets season that they've had in Jets history. But it's interesting, just like I said, kind of from the football side, the Tua hate's kind of quieted off the past few weeks to a degree, admittedly, which is interesting. So, like you said, the Dolphins, for how good they have turned it around here the past month and a half or so, they aren't doing it by blowing people out or anything like that. Things have been kind of tight and close for the most part. And like you said, the biggest key in this game is it's division. Like I said, not sure if I'd go near it, but it is a division game, so it should be a tighter one than usual.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see if the line moves. I don't think that the books want to go to 10 here.
No.
I think they're going to get a lot of sharp money. Okay, let's see what else we got left. Washington football team at the Eagles, and minus 12.5. 40 is the total. And my resident Washington football team fan
Howdy.
has informed me that Taylor Heineke is now on the COVID list. It's funny how a lot of this information comes out while this live stream is going on, and I don't have time to check it on my phone, because I saw that line and I'm like, what is going on with this game? Did Gardner Minshew take steroids or something?
I think I don't know if Jalen Hurts is gonna. I know he's questionable, and every projection shows that he'll be playing. But, I know I mentioned coming into the studio. I'm like, hey, Heineke's on the COVID list, and away we go. Washington's got COVID issues galore this week.
I noticed that they're very thin at receiver. Which, Antonio Gibson's good to go, but.
I think you're going to see McKissick out in the slot quite a bit if you want my honest opinion there.
So I don't feel, again, this is one of those weeks where there's so much uncertainty that sometimes it's actually hard to find value on a specific game. So speaking of, let's move on to the next one, and that is Bengals at the Broncos. The Bengals bungled last week. And the Broncos looked like world beaters at home against the Lions. Is that who they played last week?
Yep.
Yeah. So the Broncos are healthy and minus 2.5, 44.5. I feel like the Bengals are a live dog here. They haven't really dominated anybody since the last time they played the Steelers.
Yeah.
And it's a must-win for them. It's a must-win for both of them. It's a game that I would take +3. If it stays at 2.5, I don't think I would touch it. And I have no idea what the weather's like in Denver right now, but depending on how much snow there was, if there was a snow game, I think the under would be in play. But I'm just gonna. I don't really have much to say on this.
Yeah, I don't. I do like the Broncos, maybe like as a money line bet of a sort. Teddy Bridgewater looked really, really good last week. Obviously, it's Detroit, but the Broncos as a whole have certainly been playing better over the course of the past couple of weeks that they've had games. I think they're on the bye a couple of weeks ago, but the Bengals have become maybe the biggest mystery at the moment to a degree. Obviously they start off the year really hot, really well, and over the course of the past couple of weeks, it's become apparent that you can't trust them if you needed to, which is classic bungle fashion, admittedly.
Well, last year I talked about how their offense shows sign of brilliance, but their defense was just giving up too many points, and that's kind of happened again here. You know that Burrow's the real deal. You know Jamar Chase is the
Yep.
real deal. You know Joe Mixon is the real deal. And they're going to score their 21 to 30 points.
Yep.
But how many are they going to give up? And last week was, they couldn't stop San Francisco when it mattered. So they got lucky on a missed field goal, and then they couldn't get it done in overtime. So speaking of, let's move back to the Falcons at the 49ers. Another kind of play-in game for the playoffs. Believe it or not, the Falcons are 5-2 on the road. And not like that. I mean, that's just
weird.
A nonsense stat.
Yeah.
But maybe they have a lot of nagging wives and girlfriends. I don't know.
Stats that matter?
I don't know. 49ers getting 9 at home. 46 is the total. I have to say that I kind of like the +9 here because I feel like if 49ers take a stranglehold on this game, a 14-point lead, that they will run and they will chew clock.
Yep.
And I also feel like the Falcons can backdoor cover this.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the Falcons have been known to kind of do that anyway throughout the year to various degrees.
Yeah. Garbage time.
Yeah. It's weird. I definitely would super love this if it somehow did get to 10 by the time it closed on Sunday. But you're right. I don't think they'll try and mess anything up with Garoppolo or any means by that. Like you said, if they get up 14 and they will just sit on the ball. That's kind of to a degree Shanahan's MO when they do get those types of leads is just kind of drain the clock and more or less see you at the end of the game for the interview.
Yeah. And San Francisco's healthy this time of year, so they are more explosive, but I still feel like that their end goal is to get a 14-point lead and control the line of scrimmage and eat clock. I mean, that's how they win games.
Yep.
That's their plan anyway. All right, got a couple games left here. Packers at Ravens. This was 7, and then it looked like Lamar Jackson is going to play. So now it's down to 5.5, 43.5. And I have to tell you that even if Lamar Jackson didn't play, I think this game is the best value of the week. I think that the over here, barring a snowstorm in Baltimore, even with a snowstorm in Baltimore, the reason why you have the best quarterback, in my opinion, in the league in Aaron Rodgers. You have the 2 of the best kickers in the league, Justin Tucker and Mason Crosby. And if all 3 of those players are playing and they're not out, I think 43.5 is definitely going over.
Yeah, I agree with you on the over. I think in a weird way, if the smaller that the spread gets, the more I definitely don't like Baltimore in that situation. I mean, obviously you never know, but I'm with you. The over in this, I think if push comes to shove, both those defenses, obviously the Ravens have the worst defense compared to the Packers, but it's not like the Packers defense is exactly a turnover-friendly type defense by any means.
I mean, if Rodgers was out for some reason and Jordan Love played, I think the Packers would be hard-pressed to score 20.
Right. But like you said, let alone the quarterback play, I mean, both these coaches will not give up borderline automatic 3 points.
Yeah,
in any situation,
they're going to maximize their scoring opportunities. They're not going to leave points on barring turnover city,
right?
Which can happen. But I feel like this is the play of the week for sure, with all the uncertainty going on. That's just my opinion, but. Let's see what we got left here. Seahawks at Rams. Rams -4, 45. This is a must-win for Seattle to keep their slip.
Yeah.
They're like 3% to make the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
At 5-8, they could finish 9-8, and I think that would probably get them in.
This may be a do-or-die type game for the future of a lot of people on that team anyway, as well. In that realm of thinking, anyway.
I do believe that. As Russ has come back, he's been playing better and better every week.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I mean, obviously they know the severity of the situation that they have to win this game. Obviously they look good at last week, but, it wasn't like, a blowout or anything.
Right.
So, and the Rams obviously looked great last week, but they are on a shorter rest. So, maybe if this got to 6, I would like the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I feel like the Seahawks are going to pull out all the stops to try and win this game. So I feel like a cover is in the cards here.
Yeah.
But just playing the 4, I don't like it at all.
No, and I think too, kind of just looking at it from a couple different angles as well. To a degree, we still don't know what the Rams will be like week to week overall. And even then, I mean, they do have maybe not as severe as, say, Washington or Cleveland's COVID outbreak, but they do have their own mini burst going on right now with that, kind of specifically on the offensive side of the ball. I know Odell's in protocol, and he's kind of turned into one of Stafford's preferred targets over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
they had some players out on Monday night, and they did okay.
Yeah. So all things considered, I'm not like a really uber fan of this game.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. If say the line were to jump up a couple more points or a point and a half or something, maybe at that point you kind of dig into it a little bit more. But until that happens, yeah.
All right, so 2 games left. The Saints at the refs. I mean the Bucks. Minus 11, 46.5. This game is interesting to me. There's people in the Taysom Hill is bad camp.
Hello, that's me.
I always felt like if the team got down, like you start Taysom Hill, and if the team got down by 10 or 14 points, you bring in Trevor Siemian and start throwing.
Yeah.
Or maybe line up Hill as a wide receiver. Putting him in the slot. But 11 points is a lot. A division game. The Saints have Kamara. The Bucks have a great run defense and a bad pass defense. Yeah. So you have to throw the ball to Kamara and try to get him past the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
So that would be the game plan. It would be interesting to see. I mean, Sean Payton is a good coach. It's obvious that he's been successful. He's had a lot of injuries this year. They've got to have this game. So I don't know where that line ends up, but if it was 12.5 or more, I kind of like the Saints.
This game actually has maybe my preferred pick of the week, oddly enough, in the over actually on this one. Specifically for the reason you bring up, I think all things considered, even though, look, both Simeon and Taysom Hill both have their shortcomings. But obviously we know the Bucks will score. They'll get the ball in the end zone. Look, they're going to give up some points to the Saints.
Yeah, they're not a cover machine.
No. So I do like the over. I think it's 46.5 right now. So I do like that over in this game.
So last game on the list, I'm just trying to get through everything so we can wrap it up.
Yep.
Vikings at the Bears. This is looking like a supreme letdown spot for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Bears +6 at home, 44.5. I don't know how healthy their defense is. I don't know what the COVID situation is. I don't really want to touch this game.
The COVID situation for the Bears is actually more affecting their coaching staff to the point that Matt Nagy at this moment is lined up to start making the play calling again.
Yeah.
So
I don't like the total. I don't like the spread.
Yeah. I don't like this game at all.
I have to admit, when the Vikings lost to the Lions, being a contrarian and always looking for value, I bought my Vikings Super Bowl future at 100-1. So this is a game they should take care of. So if they can sneak into the playoffs, maybe they get hot and they get into the conference final, and I can hedge that future. But this is a game that they should have, and if they don't take care of business here.
Yeah, this is another interesting game for the potential future implications, both immediate and long-term, involving the team. Should somehow they outright lose this game, There's another situation where I think they should make a coaching change anyway, but it's definitely a gotta-have-it game for everybody involved in Minnesota.
There are some teams that refuse to fire coaches because they don't want to pay somebody to go away.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. There are other teams that are loyal. You know, if they think somebody's a good person or good to the organization, they're going to be loyal to them. All right, you ready for the picks?
Yes.
Do you think you know what they are?
I have an idea for sure one.
Okay. All right, my picks.
Yep.
Packers and Ravens over 43.5. I expect a lot of field goals, if nothing else, and I think a 24-20 game is easily doable there.
Yeah.
Michigan money line plus 250. I expect that will go way down by December 31st. The next 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was down to like 180 by the time of the – and in Michigan, spread was down to 7 by the time of game day. Of course, there will be more information, and some players, maybe they don't pass their finals, and they're, things like that.
They're not taking finals anyway.
Do you have any – you want to end the year with a play to help somebody win a few bucks?
Yes. I'm definitely going to pick the over on the Bucks and Saints, the over 46.5, and I'm going to stick with that Michigan part, but I'm going to take the safer play and take the points with them at 8.5.
Yeah, that's. I just think they have a chance to win that game outright.
I mean, I think they do anyway. I'm with you, and but
there's nothing wrong with covering. Good teams win, but great teams cover.
Exactly.
So. All right. Well, I hope you have a very good holiday season and a happy New Year, and we'll see you on the other side of January 1st.
Same to you, John. Same to everybody listening and watching. Hope everybody has a safe and enjoyable holiday season.
Thank you for spending time with us. We'll play the outro music for you now, and everybody get some winners. Take care.